sun that kiss. Sweetheart, I ask you
Yes?
this.
Sugar, where have you been? These days, when someone doesn't call me right straight back, I tend to get a trifle agitated. Oh, day before yesterday on the Red Eye. A last-minute booking on the Today Show. Oh, just to fire a warning shot. Let them know I'm back in town, armed and dangerous. So what's up? Anything happening to anybody besides me? Have you seen the spook? He was. He did. And she was with him. Whenever I see those two together, I ask myself one question. What do they do? I believe they've invented a new vice. And what it consists, I dare not guess. But I do believe, it has something to do with frogs. Yes. Oh, bells are ringing. Listen to that. No, it's the back door. Could it be the three magi? Now listen, don't go away. Stay right there. All right, hang on. I'm coming, my lord. Coming. Oh, my lord, Ernie. Thank you. Wow. Don't slam the door. What are you doing? Well, I see it, but I don't believe it. Goodness. Oh. Well, you can't conceive what just arrived. A veritable horse trot of unspeakable poinsettias. No, listen, I don't know who from. I'm going to dispose of the card. Sight unseen. It would shock and appall me to learn it's somebody I like or even know would send me such a tacky thing. Poinsettias are the Bob Goulet of botany. Right. Now listen, I need a little dirt fix. What is everybody up to? Me, precious, my life is being conducted on the highest possible plane. Don't let me even commence. 2 glasses of wine. Maximum, I swear. Why? Because I'm in New York, to hold my head high, show the flag, not to roll in the gutter, and gratify my enemies. So every night I go out on my rounds and I carry a half-full glass of wine for hours to confound their spies. So, of course, last night I came home desperately sober at 3 in the morning, gobbled up an entire box of chocolate truffles. And then, of course, I had to take 2 tetracyclines so my face wouldn't break out. Other line, sweetie, other line? Or hang on. Yes? Oh, hi. Well, hi. No, I want to talk to you. Let me say goodbye to the divine Mrs. G, all right? Hang on. Sweetie, it's the avocado. No, I'll have to call you back. These are desperate times, dear. And lawyers take precedence. But I adore you, you gorgeous thing. Don't you ever die. All right. Kiss. Hi. Well, thanks for getting back so fast with the contract memos. Yes, I did, down to the last wherefore and whereas. Well, it looks pretty good to me. A non-refundable advance of $187,005 for reprint rights, not too shabby. I say let's grab it and run. What? I am sitting down. Why? Oh, for goodness sake. Well, I don't suppose Mr. Billy Rodanti was careless enough to let you find out where he was calling from. Well, if that pig turd calls again, You tell him I've got my bone cruncher out looking for him with a baseball bat, and it's my Christmas prayer that when he finds him, he'll kill him, okay? Will you convey that message to Mr. Redantian? Avocado, dear, you know that I'm very, very serious. Rick's really looking for Billy. And if he finds him, I'm going to need a criminal lawyer. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to elevate the tone of this conversation. What I wanted to tell you is I've decided to let Gerald Clark have whatever he thinks he needs. So if he calls up and asks for stuff from the files, I want you to give it to him. Why not? Look, all my life, I've told things about myself that would make a baboon blush blue. I've been spilling the beans ever since I could talk. So my Boswell isn't exactly plowing virgin soil. Well, maybe a little discretion with the files, but I'm here to tell you, hon, that letting down your hair with your biographer is very soothing. You can't imagine his ton dress and how he absolutely hangs on every word that I say. Well, not to worry, please. It's a long life, and like the man said, mostly untrue. Listen, I'm going for drinks at Jan's, and then we're meeting Ava Gardner and her crowd at Quo Vadis. You want to join us? It's very good for business, Avocado. That outfit around Ava is very vivacious, if you know what I mean. They frequently find themselves in need of skilled courtroom advocates. Well, that's too bad. No, I understand. Listen, I'm expecting that $45,000 from Columbia on time. Christmas is going to be very expensive this year. I'm giving stuff from Tiffany's, and I'm getting poinsettias. Oh, now that's depressing. I'm sorry, Louis. We need something merry. Something merry. Oh, that's it.
He walks his way as somebody sings those blues ways. So gentle that when he dances, he's sure and he passes them.
For the ears of Gerald Clark. Gary, when I told you about my early encounter with Louis Armstrong, I could just see you figuring that you could write Truman claimed when he was 4, he danced in a riverboat where Louis Armstrong played. He claimed that Armstrong called him a fine little dancer and took up a collection for him. I could just see the claims clanking around in your head, Gary. But I did dance with Louis Armstrong, and I know where I could find a corroborating witness. You're just going to have to learn to trust me. I've lived an astonishing life, and I've known everybody. I bet I'm the only person in the world who knew Saran Saran and Robert Kennedy, who also knew Lee Harvey Oswald and Jack Kennedy. The odds against that, one person knowing all 4 of those men, is beyond reckoning, my dear. I met Oswald in Moscow just after he defected. So when I tell you I once tap danced on a riverboat where Louis Armstrong played, well, Gary, you know what I mean. So pay attention, Gary. Well. I've known everybody. And I've lived all over the world. In this country, I lived in Louisiana and Alabama, Connecticut, and Brooklyn, Mississippi, Manhattan. Long Island, Palm Springs, Kansas, and at a further remove, Moscow, Italy, France, and Switzerland. And I once went to Staten Island. It was like Australia. And this is my apartment in the United Nations Plaza on New York's East River. And I've had Joanne and Johnny Carson and Robert Kennedy for neighbors. And we all have this magnificent view. Just all looks out on the United Nations. And it's just lovely to sit here, you know, with drinks and the phonograph on, just at twilight, when all the lights of the city begin to come on. So stick around. Well, what to tell you? I collect. I like to collect. I collect stuff. Paperweights. This was given to me years ago by Colette. It's baccarat. It's now worth $15,000. And books, evermore books, and a number of plaster cats. And, oh, please. Inappropriate Victoriana. I'm the decorator's despair. Poor lady, such good taste. However, good taste is the death of art, you know, right? Anyway, I collect stuff like a magpie. However, I don't love it much once I've got it. I have very little sense of possession. If I've learned anything, it is that you can't ever really own anything. And I bet you're just sitting there waiting for me to say, especially people, right? Well, I guess we've all noticed how you can never own another person, but another person can own you. It's a very strange equation, isn't it? Do you like my hat? I wear hats a lot now. The receding locks of the aging poet. The poet laureate of the lavatory wall. Well, that's what they're saying, anyway. At this particular moment in my life, I stand accused of obscene treachery and betrayal, because 3 months ago, to sort of jolt myself out of a depression, I let Esquire publish a chapter from a novel that I've been working on for 20 years, and the novel is called Answered Prayers, and the title is from St. Teresa of Avila, and she wrote more tears are shed over answered prayers than unanswered ones. And St. Teresa was one sharp little cookie cutter. Anyway, Answered Prayers is the book that I've been in training for. My whole life it's going to be my Vanity Fair, my remembrance of things past. You know, they say everybody's got one book in them. Well, hell, I've written lots of books, but basically I've always had this one book just to justify just everything. And what's it about? You know? Answered Prayers is about them, the super rich, as seen through the eyes of an outsider who for various reasons has privileged access. It's about sexual license and ethical squalor. Woo! Camus once said, "My God, I've only written a tenth of what I know, and they're already screaming." I think I know what he meant. All this brouhaha over that one little chapter, which is nothing, really, but a very truthful, and if I may say, witty account of a bunch of silly people sitting at a restaurant, dishing the dirt on each other. I used a couple of real names and certain attributes of some others, but my God, you'd think I'd killed the Lindbergh baby. Just listen to what Liz Smith said. Do you know Liz Smith? In the New York Magazine, Truman Capote in hot water. Society's sacred monsters are in a state of shock. Never have you heard such gnashing of teeth, such shouts of betrayal, as if I were Franklin Roosevelt, a traitor to my class, which is hogwash. I'm not one of them. I'm an artist, and artists belong to no class, and people like that, who cozy up to artists, do so at their own risk. Jimmy, hi, this is Mr. Capote. Listen, I'm going to put a recently orphaned poinsettia plant out the back door for anyone who wants to give it a good home. Jingle bells. All right, bye. Oh, God. It's horrid. Well, it is. Oh. If ever I would leave you. Hello, I'm not in right now. When you hear the beep, just do your stuff.
Mr. Capote, this is Betty, Mrs. White's secretary. Mrs. White had to go to the dentist and asked me to call you about a couple of inquiries. One's from this ladies' literary society in Louisville, offering to almost double your fee. It's for the week of February 7th. Now, that would set a precedent. And Mrs. White said if you took this gig for that fee, she could maybe up your price on the whole circuit.
Oh, that's wonderful. Listen, hon, when Irene gets back, ask her, when Norman Mailer stabbed his wife, how much his fee went up. No, listen. No, listen, it's television. I used to be famous because I wrote books. Now I'm famous for being famous. Fame is only good for one thing. They'll cash your check in a small town. Now, where was I? Oh, yes, the rich. And I don't count anyone that's really rich who cannot quickly summon up 50 million in hard currency. And I spent 20 years in the company of the big rich. I've just flown everywhere in their jets with marble loos and queen-size beds, everything always so comfy, and their wonderful fetal food, you know, their little fresh-born vegetables. The baby lamb that's been ripped from its mother's womb. No, they eat well. And they take great care of their bodies. You know. And they never hit you up for a loan. Speaking of taking care of your bodies. Oh, isn't it boring? But the rich, most of them are pretty sad. Most of them would be totally lost without their money. You know, that's why it means so much to them. Why they're so fixated on the subject. You know? One time, oh, this is delicious. Come here. One time I was on the Agnelli yacht with Gianni and Morella and Princess Pignatelli and about 6 other guests. And we were cruising off the Yugoslav coast. And the Princess Pignatelli was just about to come to America. And every day, up and on the top deck, the princess was doing these endless exercises, you know, stretching, sunning, bending, keeping herself trim and gilt. And when she wasn't primping, she was reading a book, and the book that she was reading was in English. And she read every word, I swear, with her lips. It was slow going. And I became fascinated as to the contents of the book. The gorgeous Luciana was reading with such forbidding intensity. So I sneaked over and I peeked at the cover. And the title was The 100 Richest Americans. Now, a couple of days later, we were steaming out of some little Jugland harbor where we'd taken on fresh vegetables and fruit. And we all sat down to lunch, and the steward served the first course, which consisted of these rather exceptional melons. And Morella tasted her melon, and she said, "Oh, how absolutely divine. I could get drunk and disorderly on these melons. Where do they come from?" Whereupon the princess perks up her ears and says, the melons, they come from Pittsburgh. Money, money, money. They're very nervous with you if they think you don't have any. That's why they hang together so desperately. Not that they like each other, they don't. A yacht and 5 houses are what they have in common. And they get very bored with each other. So when they can, they try to take in amusing artists. If they were smart, they'd confine their patronage to the merely artistic. No billionaire ever got bit by Mario Buada. Any normal person with a normal sense of self-preservation would understand that all any artist has is his life and what he observes as he passes through his life. And any serious writer hanging out for years with the rich, well, you'd have to be deluded to the point of derangement not to realize that writer was taking notes. My God, I even told them, everyone knew I was writing this book. What'd they think I was there for? The intellectual stimulation? The wit? The spiritual uplift. I'm the one that brought intellect and wit to the party. And the spiritual uplift, too, if anyone was buying. So. A few doors have been temporarily closed. Gloria Vanderbilt, the Paleys, the Whitneys, the Coles, Lady Keith. I'm being punished for having the bad taste to write humorously about a few of their crowds, less appetizing. What shall I say? Attitudes, and in a rage of sycophancy, their hangers-on, their pilot fish are violently vindictive. For instance, my own agent, Mr. Swifty Lazar, first time in 15 years he's not invited me to one of his big parties. Well, that ought to bring me to my senses. What they want is for me to grovel at their feet, maybe take a judicious little overdose and check myself into Payne Whitney and have my shrink call and say it's from a broken heart. Well, as my good friend Norman Mailer used to write, fug 'em. I'm an artist, and I'm writing a masterpiece, and they're wrong. In any event, I don't give a shoot about any of them, you know, except the Paleys. The Paleys and Slim Keith, only those 3. And I'm confident that in time, Babe and Slim will come around. I'm very confident. Very confident. Oh. Maybe you're not the kind of people that talk to yourselves aloud. Personally, I've done it all my life. I consider it healthy. You get a lot of stuff out of your system. I like to talk to myself and about myself. No. So there. I was born in New Orleans, and I was named Truman Streckfuss Persons. And some years later, I took my stepfather's name, Capote. And when I was a child, I was called Buddy, or Little T. And since I came to work in New York when I was 17, some good friends started to call me True, which has a resonance that I like, True. And I've been a writer since I was 8 years old. When I was 8, I just started writing out of the blue, uninspired by any example I'd never known, anyone who wrote, known very few who even read. Even my ambition to be a tap dancer was more acceptable to the people that I lived with than the idea of having a writer in their midst. But write I did, and write I do. Actually, I think I'd been very good at anything I wanted to do. I'm very apt. I can ice skate and ski, and I can read upside down, and I can hit a toss can with a .38 revolver. I've driven a Maserati at dawn on a lonely, flat Texas road, 170 miles an hour, and I can cook. I can cook, too. And I can dance. I can tap dance. Bet you didn't expect that. And I can type 60 words a minute. And I'm an alcoholic. It's a chemical addiction, not a psychological one. I can scarcely think of a writer who's not a heavy drinker. One or two. Arthur Miller, of course. Well. But there aren't many who don't have the problem. Writing is hard. And you get depressed. And every few years I slide into one of those things. It's not at all pleasant. And I try to take it in stride. And whenever I feel things are getting out of control, I check myself into a hospital to get the poisons wiped out. And I don't believe there should be any opprobrium whatsoever attached to any of this. It's just common sense. I've been to Silver Hill and Riggs and a lovely place in Minnesota and even a couple of emergency rooms. I wish I had a bit more confidence in psychiatry. I feel a bit like Tennessee Williams, who once confided in me that he was going to quit his analysis. Truman, he said, that man is trying to interfere in my private life. Also, they're so excessively concerned with homosexuality. I never had any problem with being homosexual. I've always been right out there. I was always an object of desire. Yes, I was. When I was in school, I was pretty and amusing, very popular. Everybody wanted to go to bed with me, from the headmaster on down. I'm practically the #1 person around who's had everybody, who everybody else said was straight. I think most people don't have any idea what their sexual identity is. I've always said that if you decide you want somebody, I don't care who they are, if you really want them and you concentrate exclusively, you'll probably get that person. That's been my experience. Very few people can resist, when someone really, really wants them, when someone focuses totally totally on them. One, it's so flattering. And two, if it goes on long enough, just wears them down. Energy helps too. And I'm very energetic when the occasion arises. The main thing about me is that it's not like anybody else. Most homosexuals are very ordinary people. But not me. There's nothing ordinary about me. I was always a sort of two-headed calf. Well, I was aware of this at a very early age. For openers, I'm distinctly curious looking, right? Wouldn't you agree? And everyone's always making allusions to this weird little voice Capote has. Hi, and childish, of course, then describing me as delicate. I'm as delicate as a pit bull. In actual fact, I have a sturdy peasant frame. I'm a good athlete, an excellent swimmer and diver, and what else? I'm a good businessman. I'm responsible with money. And my age, I never tell my age. I'm 51. And for 51 years, as long as I can remember, I've lived with this feeling of dread. Just a belief that any minute something terrible is going to happen, like you're on the drop of the gallows. Oh. I mean, I have literally stood and watched people on the drop of the gallows. I've held their hand a minute before, just watched them drop, and their heads jerk back and their feet dance. That moment before it's going to happen, I believe I know how that moment feels. When I researched in cold blood, I interviewed literally hundreds of convicted murderers, many of them on death row. And once in Hong Kong, I was walking through the market, and I saw all these little dogs in these bamboo cages, and the cages were stacked on top of each other. Little dogs were stuffed inside, very passive, not yapping, nothing. It was very hot, and I couldn't imagine what in the world they were there for. So I asked the Chinese girl who I was with, and she said, oh, they're for sale. They're waiting to be eaten. Soup is made of those little dogs. And that was many years ago. But the first time I saw death row in one of our prisons, all I could think about were those little dogs. I identify with those little dogs and those convicted killers. I just do. Why? Well. Where did I get this one from? How come? Well, thank you very much. These are fabric swatches for my editor, Joe Fox. I'm giving him a 3-piece custom-made suit from Dunhill's. It'll change his life. Have you ever fantasized killing somebody? You haven't? No. Cross your heart. Well, I still don't believe it. Everybody's wanted to kill somebody at one time or another. As for me, if desire had ever been transformed into action, I'd been right up there with Jack the Ripper. Plotting murder is somewhat relaxing. But not relaxing enough. I'm seldom able to sleep without chemical aid. I feel as if I've never spent a tranquil moment in my life. And it's reasonable to assume this monstrous anxiety of mine comes from being an unwanted child. My parents separated soon after I was born. My mother quickly realized what a big mistake she'd made. My mother, she was very pretty. And other men entered her life, and she just left me with her 3 maiden sisters, an unmarried brother in Monroeville, Alabama. Population 1,300 and a few odd souls. And I can remember just standing in the street and just watching my mother just drive off, just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. The family wasn't unkind to me, that she left me with, in a way it was very hard on them, because they definitely thought something was wrong with me. Isn't that strange? I'm very ambivalent about Christmas. I want it to be magic, just warm and lavish with all your friends, like a family, which sets up this terrible anxiety, because I have a terrible history with Christmases, and that's true with most alcoholics, you know. Just things happen. And this year is notable for the painful number of absent friends. And I don't mean that crowd. I mean like Jack. I asked him not to go to Switzerland this year, but to stay and see me through this Christmas. But as usual, he escaped. Jack dumped me, and I've been together for almost 30 years. Lovers for 3, best friends, closest companions ever since. We've been through it all together. Together, but not necessarily under the same roof, or during my more trying periods on the same continent. Well, well, who am I doing this for? I had thought this Christmas, with most of the city's celebrants behaving as if I were spreading cholera, maybe he'd stick around and just offer a little support. And on my split with Billy, well, Jack from the very beginning always used to say, Billy was a user. I know what Billy is and what Billy isn't. Billy middle class, he calls himself. Billy denies he's homosexual, but I first picked him up in a gay bathhouse. Mr. Rodanti is a sadist, an alcoholic, a big spender of other people's money. He tried to interfere in my work. He's a braggart and a liar. A social embarrassment, an embezzler, and a thief. And aside from the $20,000 he recently appropriated from me, he's stolen 6 spiral notebooks containing 15 years' work on answered prayers, which is the major reason I'm having trouble finishing it. So you can see why I sincerely hope that my friend with the baseball bat gets a shot at him. However, if Billy stopped drinking, if I stopped drinking and everything was straight, and if I really just can't get him out of my system, maybe we could still have a life together, right? Absent friends. Oh, go ahead and do it. Operator, hi. This is 7561075, and I'd like a telegram charged to that number, and it's to go to Mr. and Mrs. William Paley. Now make that just Mrs. Paley. Indian Hill Road, Brookville, Long Island. And the message is, I'm so sad and lonely for you, as positively unchristian, that you should remain so unforgiving to a poor sinner over the halls. Halls. Short for holidays. Now, where was that? Over the halls. I love you. No, that's the message. What? No, I love you. And I miss you. And that's the solemn truth, babe. Signed true, T-R-U. No, sweet, I don't want you to read all of that back. No, that's all right. That's, oh, my God. So. So, in for a penny. In for a pound.
Hello, Western Union. May I help you?
Yes, this is 7561075, and I'd like a telegram charged to that number. It's to go to Lady Nancy Keith.
Would you spell that first name, please?
L-A-D-Y. Lady Nancy Keith, K-E-I-T-H, 100 Mariall Road, New Milford, Connecticut, 06776. And the message is, Merry Christmas, Big Mama. I've decided to forgive you. Signed true, T-R-U. Would you read all of that back, please?
Okay. It goes to Lady, L-A-D-Y, Nancy Keith, K-E-I-T-H, 100 Mariall Road, New Milford, Connecticut, 06776. The message is, Merry Christmas, Big Mama. I've decided to forgive you. Signed true, T-R-U. Is that all?
Actually, that's quite a lot, sugar.
Excuse me for asking, but are you Truman Capote?
Why, you clever thing. However did you guess?
She's the one they call Slim, isn't she? Slim Keith?
Well, she once was slim, that is.
Well, I think she's acting ridiculous. I just want to say I think they all are. A bunch of real assholes. And you want to know something? They ought to be honored you wrote about them. I read Breakfast at Tiffany's and In Cold Blood, and you're a wonderful writer.
Oh, my God. Well, just thank you from the bottom of my heart. What is your name, hon?
Judy. Judy Cornblue.
Well, a glorious Christmas to you, Judy.
You too, Mr. Capote.
Call me true.
Hey, how about that? Well, a glorious Christmas to you too. True.
Oh, thank you. Sometimes there's God. The truth is, I've been fighting off maybe the worst case of the mean Reds I've ever had in my life, and that's saying a lot. I wake up some mornings feeling like I've been snake bit, and I know what I'm talking about. When I was 8 years old, I was bitten by a cottonmouth water moccasin. And the scariest part was they killed a bunch of chickens and ripped them open. And the hot chicken flesh was supposed to draw out the poison, which I guess it did, because the chicken meat turned green, and I didn't. But I sure enough felt as if I'd been snake bit. My God, I didn't bomb Pearl Harbor. I'm not an unkind person. I'm not judgmental. I'm a generous and caring friend, and no matter what they say, a loyal one, and I'm not a cheat, and I'm very, very honest. I mean, Lord, even as a child. Well, once, I stepped over the line once. I committed one serious crime when I was 8 years old. What I did, what my crime was, I stole my grandmother's necklace. I stole it to pay Mrs. Ferguson. Mrs. Ferguson was a fancy laundress, probably the only white laundress in New Orleans. And Mrs. Ferguson was said to have magical powers. It was said and believed by many, certainly by me, that she could tame errant husbands and force proposals from reluctant suitors and recoup squandered fortunes. In short, she was a witch who could make wishes come true. And I had a secret wish, one that I was afraid to tell anybody. Couldn't imagine what their reaction would be. But I wanted to tell my wish to Mrs. Ferguson. I felt I had to, but how could I pay her? What could I give her? Well, as it turns out, what I could give her was my grandmother's necklace. It was a dazzling yellow stone dangling from a gold chain. And my grandmother attached great value to it because her own grandfather had won it in a card game in Colorado. And when Mrs. Ferguson first laid eyes on it, her ignorant moon eyes glowed. And that's the fact. They truly glowed. And the deal she offered me was my wish for my grandmother's necklace. If I were caught, I'd never have been forgiven, but I had to have it. And I snuck into my grandmother's room, and I stole that necklace, and I just ran. Mrs. Ferguson?
Where is it, boy?
Here, in my pocket.
Well, am I expected to guess? Am I supposed to tell you why you're here? What is it you want? Well?
I want to be a tap dancer, just run away to Hollywood, be in the movies.
Well, you sure are pretty enough to be in picture shows. Prettier than any boy, aren't they?
Mrs. Ferguson, that's it. That's my secret wish. I don't want to be a boy. I want to be a girl. I'm just worried all the time. Oh, don't laugh at that.
Ain't you some? Ain't you just some kind of little he-she, little two-headed cat with a young? No wonder your mama took off and all them others want to get shit of you.
You hush. Hush up. Just shut up.
Hello? I'm not in right now. When you hear the beep, just do your stuff.
True, where are you? We're all just sitting here waiting for you. There's nothing to eat and people are getting smashed, okay? If you don't call back and show up in 15 minutes, we're going on to Quo Vadis. True, are you there? We're going to Quo Vadis.
Jan, listen, I've been working. I just lost track of time. But I'll meet you all at the restaurant. All I've got to do is pick out the appropriate chapeau to put the spell on Miss Ava. And Sugar, you know what you are? What you are is an absolutely perfect person. And I'll see you all shortly. Oh, bye.
You better not cry, you better not pout. I'm telling you
No, it's not at all complicated. No, I don't want to wait till Mr. Rudy gets back. I know it's Christmas Eve. That's why I'm giving you an order of thousands of dollars worth of flowers. Well, you'll have to be responsible. Now, what is your name? Jesus. How apropos. Well, Jesus, honey, look in the file. Under Capote, you find 2 lists of names and addresses. Many names. One list is marked A, and one list is marked B. And the A list is to get Narcissus. Narcissus. And the B list, white orchid plants. Now, isn't that simple? Narcissi for A, orchid plants for B. Rudy! Well, Lord, where have you been? I just gave the order to Jesus. Flats of narcissi, just like last year. I know it's Christmas Eve. I know it's a long list, but I just got in from Beijing an hour ago, hon. I know you can do it if you just make some calls. I'm not asking for arrangements. Oh, now don't sob, Rudy. It's the season to be jolly. Like it or not. Well, just do the best you can for me. Please, please. All right. Jingle bells. All right. I'm not a good person. Oh, Christ. Whoever you are, please speak softly. Yes? Yes? I can't hear you. What? Jack? Oh, Jack, is that you? Is it absolutely perfect there? Are you wallowing in Swiss perfection? Well, not exactly. I meant to call you. I think I actually tried once or twice, but I couldn't swear to it. No, I'm all right. Last night, I made this mistake of trying to keep up with Miss Ava Gardner. Miss Gardner is muy macho. And in her wake, I sort of fell into the drink, so to speak. No, don't fuss. I'm perfectly fine. We went discoing. I think I just danced it out of my system. Disco, Jack, disco. Aerobics, you know. No, it's very good for you, so except for these castanets doing their thing inside my cranium, I'm actually okay. I've been up and bustling and tending to business today. It's Christmas Eve, you know. To Jan's, some very nice people, among whom I wish I could number you. Yes, of course I put up the tree. I decorated it myself. It's startling. No, Jack, please, I'm not. I'm not going to drink anymore. I did not disgrace myself. I know because I know. I can't remember every single moment. I remember most of it. I was just discoing, laughing it up, seeing a few friends. Well, Lord Jack, I can't remember who all. It's Christmas, and the city is swarming. Well, I wish so, too. All right, Jack, please, I'll talk to you tomorrow, after I open your present. I'm glad you called. Definitely not. I'm going to stay as sober as a Shiite, I swear. You know the guy that does the night run on my service elevator? He claims he does 24 miles a night, up and down. So I gave him a travel clock from Tiffany's. Oh, God. I gave it to him for decorating that shoddy tree. Tributes, more tributes, I hope, yes. Well, let's see. Well, don't slam the door. Oh, I knew it. Look at this, some delivery. A plain brown wrapper. Something naughty, I hope. What could this? Oh, my Lord. That's me. The way we were. Dear old True Cat, as you may have heard, I'm moving to Morocco with himself, who objects violently to this reminder of Lake Temps Perdu. Oh. So rather than consign it to auction, I thought it should go back to you. Merry Christmas and love, Davy. Oh. The way we were. Just, oh. Les temps perdus, indeed. Tell me something. You all disco? I love it. It's so democratic. Boys with girls, and boys with boys, girls with girls, blacks, whites, capitalists, Marxists. I don't know who all one big mix. And what I love best is to sit way up in the DJ's booth. And sometimes when I'm up there, I think of all the dead people that would have loved it. Toulouse-Lautrec. Oh, listen. It's so glamorous. Cole Porter would have just loved it. Oh. Oh, shit. You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to get all dressed up and go to lunch with Babe and tell her everything that was going on at Studio 54. It's so stupid. This thing has happened with answered prayers. Stupid, ridiculous, childish. I didn't do anything. I'd never deliberately, consciously do anything to hurt Babe. She used to say to me, there's only one person in the world who could hurt me. Bill can't hurt me, or my sisters, but you could really hurt me. And apparently I did. Bizarre and ridiculous as it seems. And because I love her, she's hurting me, too, out of a loyalty to a husband who is so disloyal to her. My God. I didn't name Bill like I did some people in the story. I did not describe him. His attitude, maybe. But that attitude is not singular to Bill Paley. The world is full of rich shits. When Babe first read the story, she didn't recognize him. It was other people making trouble. People can only tolerate so much success. It's as simple as that. Well, they can kiss my serene ass on my couch of many colors. Because except for Babe and Slim, I couldn't care less. And Slim will come around. You want to bet? If she doesn't make a gesture by February 1st, I'll nail her on Valentine's Day. I'm her closest friend, and she needs me. And the truth is some very good news for all of those women, those beautiful, intelligent, privileged, lonely women. They're absolutely crazy about me, and that's a fact. And you know why? Because, damn it, I like them. I like them. I pay attention to them. I listen. I understand their problems. I make them laugh. I tell them how to dress and what makeup to wear, what books to read, and who to love. And when they're miserable, I tuck them into bed, and I tell them bedtime stories. And what they like best is something horrendous about someone impeccable. Don't we all? Yes. Carol. Oh, my... Carol. Well, Merry Christmas, precious. Well, I adore you, too. No, don't worry that Gloria will find out that you called. My lips are sealed. Of course, my old Underwood can be very indiscreet. So, Sugar Pie, tell me something. Are you ready for Christmas? Have you spent oodles and oodles of Walter's money? Have you? Well, terrific. Oh, listen, darling, you are the brightest and the best, and I worship you. And you're angelic to call. And I'll see you in 1976, and you're going to be astonished at the new me. I'm going to trim down the tum and lift high the face. I am. It's going to be a brand new true. No booze, no Billy, I swear, or any other evil companion. I'm going to get healthy, and I'm going to finish the book. You know what I say now? When people ask me if they're in it, I say, not yet. But like we say at Forest Lawn, I've reserved a plot for you. We'll fit you all in. Well, Merry Christmas. Oh, Merry Christmas, Precious. No. I'll talk to you New Year's Eve. I will. No, sweet. You're the only one. It's called, well, courage. Keep your chins up. All right, I'll talk to you New Year's Eve. All right, jingle bells. Oh, so that was Carol Mathau. Carol and Gloria Vanderbilt and Una O'Neill Chaplin. They were teenage pals. And sort of a loony show of solidarity. All three of those beautiful, gifted young women married dirty old men. Sorry. Carol's now married to her second husband, Walter Matthau, and they live in California. I mean, live there all the time. No, it's a scientific fact that for every year you stay in California, you lose 2 points of your IQ. It's redundant to die in L.A. But old people just love it. They just close their eyes. And the wind whispering through the winter flowers says sleep. And the sea says sleep. Well, I'm definitely not ready to sleep in the deeper sense, right? Oh, God, where did I put it? It's here somewhere. Oh, thank God. Oh, yes. This is from a girl who occasionally does research for me. She always gives me a big bag of what used to be penny candy. Oh, Choco Kisses, Maltesers, grape all-day suckers. Oh. Mary Jane's. Oh. I must ask you to regard this stuff as medicinal, which it is, for a metabolic problem. When a person accustomed to a certain amount of alcohol every day doesn't get those carbohydrates, the body just sets up this demand. So I apologize. No. Whenever Sook, do you know Sook? Whenever Sook had an extra penny, she'd always buy me a grape. All-day sucker. Sook was my mother's oldest sister, and yet the youngest, and a lot of people thought she was retarded. And the family treated her accordingly, accused her of being funny, but she was just dreadfully shy and innocent. Sook. Sook. I miss her. Actually, I've been quoting from a book that I wrote about Sook and me. A Christmas Memory. Sook and I, we were like forgotten people. Sook by her brothers and sisters and me by my parents. We only identified with people outside the boundaries of our little town. I was extremely jealous of all the children whose names or pictures were in the paper. Shirley Temple, Bobby Breen, Jackie Cooper, everybody. Sook identified with people in the Bible. And I am 7, and she is 60-something, and we're best friends. Other people inhabit the house, relatives, and though they have power over us and frequently make us cry, we are not, on the whole, too much aware of them. And that year that I was 7, there was this little bit of whiskey left over from the fruitcake. So Sook and I and Queenie. Queenie was our tough little rat terrier who did me one better by surviving 2 snake bites. Anyway, Sook and Queenie and I drank that leftover whiskey and got drunk and caused a scandal. Enter the relatives. Whiskey on his breath, a child of 7. Remember Cousin Kate, Uncle Charlie's scandal, humiliation, you kneel, pray, beg the Lord. In my 7-year-old opinion, the effects of the whiskey on me were lovely. The grown-ups were stupid and mean. And after that Christmas, everything changed, because the next year, my mother married Mr. Capote. And those who know best decide that I belong in military school. And so follows a miserable succession of bugle-blowing prisons, grim, reveille-ridden summer camps. And finally, after my mother had given up getting a new baby by Mr. Capote, she sent for me. I have a new home too, but it doesn't count. Home is where my friend Sook is. And there I never go. Oh, so. A Christmas memory. So, another New York Christmas. Christmas in New York might work for Frank Capra. Or O. Henry. The things we remember if we try. Everybody says sugar is a killer, no matter how you take it. It makes some people violent, but it calms me, which I need. It's very important that I just don't drink just now. I very much need to keep my wits about me. My mother, she killed herself at Christmas. Christmas of 1953. She killed herself at 1066 Park Avenue, which was in its way a success story, you know. She was born poor in Monroeville, but she got out. She got a well-to-do husband whom she loved, and she died regardless of how, on Park Avenue. My contacts with Grace Kelly and Princess Margaret were so important to her. My mother, she was beautiful. She was intelligent, but she didn't want to live. She had many reasons, at least she thought she did. So one night she got all dressed up, and she gave a dinner party, and everybody said that she looked lovely. And after the party, before she went to sleep, she took 30 Seconal and never woke up. All the people I've known who've killed themselves or really and truly tried, most psychiatrists say that almost all suicides are the result of a terrible anger. The person turns against himself when he can't confront the person who's hurt him, not me. Anyone who worked me into that kind of state would find himself looking down the barrel of a shotgun. What am I laughing about? The murderer's little laugh of social embarrassment, I guess. Well, there you are. You know, writing a truthful book or story, there's always a touch of murder in it. I found that out when I was 8 years old. Did I tell you? I wrote my first story when I was 8. There was this contest for children in the Monroeville Register, and I wrote a story called Mrs. Busybody. And my story was not along the customary lines of what I did on my vacation, you know. But more of a roman à clef about people I knew or knew about in Monroeville. The fat lady who sat in her front porch all day long, tried to murder her own child. The town bachelor who hated all women, even female dogs. And I can't remember who the rest were, but whoever they were real. Anyway, Mrs. Busybody was supposed to come out in 3 separate installments, but after the first section was printed and everyone in Monroeville read it, the town went crazy, and that was that. Nobody ever saw the other 2 installments. And after that, people stopped telling me things. And some people stopped talking to me. And after that, I was 8 years old at the time. I started to have these sad dreams. And I've had the same sad dream for over 40 years. It's about being 8 years old and walking down a dusty street in Monroeville. And when people saw me coming, they'd turn their backs and not talk to me because I'd written about them. And that's the extent of the dream. Nothing so terrible. But this morning, I woke up from having that dream, and I woke up just weeping. Our end is consequent on our beginning. The main thing history teaches us is that history teaches us nothing. Right? I keep thinking things will be right if I could just finish the book, or when I finally dump Billy Rodanti, or when I look beautiful again. It's so stupid. And the drinking is stupid. The other night at Studio 54, some of the kids gave me some cocaine to try. Unfortunately, I had a couple of drinks first, so I didn't get the pure effect. But they say I should continue to take cocaine to help me get off alcohol. Right? Which is such a friggin' depressant. And I said I'd never kill myself. I don't think I would, but I keep asking doctors for prescriptions for Tuinals. They keep giving them to me. And I've saved enough Tuinals to stage my own Jonestown massacre. You're never safe till they dial Forest Lawn. That's the truth. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Oh, where should I look? Oh, the way we were. Well, like the man said, 'Tis the season to be jolly. Like it or not.
Get your coat, grab your hat, leave your worries on the doorstep. Life can be so sweet, on the sunny side of the street. I used to walk in the shade, yes, with those blue umbrellas. Now, mama, now I'm not afraid, baby. Yes. And if I never ever said I'd be riches, lucky fellow, with dollars at my feet.
On the sunny side. Oh, boy, oh boy. Am I thirsty? Yes. Am I going to make myself a drink? No, it's Christmas Eve, and you've got to give it all you've got. They made a lovely television movie of this. Geraldine Page plays Sook. My wonderful Christmas memory. Speaking of memories, did you ever wonder what would go through your head if you were drowning? I have. It's like home movies. It's a hot Alabama day in 1932, so I must be 8. And I'm in a vegetable garden, just humming with bees and heat waves, and I'm picking turnips and slushy scarlet tomatoes. And then I'm running through a pine and honeysuckle wood toward a deep, cool creek where I bathe. And I wash the turnips, the tomatoes, bird music. Leaf light, the taste of raw turnip on my tongue. Oh, pleasures everlasting. Hallelujah. And not far away, snake, a cottonmouth, water moccasin, rides, ripples across the water. I am not afraid of it. And now I'm standing at the window of a pensione on a Mediterranean island, watching the afternoon passenger boat arrive from the mainland. Suddenly they're on the wharf, carrying our suitcases, is someone I know very well, someone who has said goodbye, someone who's apparently had a change of mind. So is it the real turtle soup or only the mock? Or is it at long last love? And now a young man with black cowlicked hair. He's wearing a leather harness, which keeps his arms strapped to his side. And he's smiling, speaking to me, trembling. And all I can hear is the roar of blood in my ears. And 20 minutes later, he's dead, hanging from the end of a rope. And now the mental slides are moving faster and faster. I'm nursing to life a bulldog puppy, just ill to death with distemper. And the puppy lives. Now I'm picking apples on an autumn afternoon, a face close by. So is it the Taj Mahal I see? Or merely Asbury Park? Or is it at long last love? Oh boy, was it ever not? And it's 1966, my beautiful black and white ball at the Plaza Hotel. It cost me $75,000 worth, every penny. 400 of my truest friends are there. And the press called it the party of the decade. And Betty Bacall, and Jerry Robbins are holding the floor, and they're wonderful. Just everything. Everything is wonderful. It's my night. I'm at the top, the very top of my game. And once more the creek, the taste of raw turnip on my tongue, the flow of summer water, embracing my nakedness. And there, just there, swiveling, tangoing on the surface, the exquisitely limber and lethal cottonmouth. But I'm not afraid of it, am I? So is it an earthquake or only a shock? Is it the real turtle soup or merely the mock? Is it Granada I see or Asbury Park? Or is it at long last shit? Still, when it's time to go, should we just laugh?
Is it a quick turtle soup or middle of Is it a cocktail, this feeling of joy? Or is what I feel real my thought? Is it an old time or simply your love? Is it Granada I see or only